Yeah, to me, the metaverse is nascent. It's not something that's here fully yet. So whenever I see a headline that says, the metaverse is dead or something, I'm like, how can you kill something that is, still being created? But to me, the metaverse, in essence, is the successor state to today's mobile internet. It is a convergence of the physical and virtual world that's enabled by many different technologies, not just virtual reality, because a lot of people think VR only. It's enabled by VR, AR, AI, cloud computing, edge computing. And to me, it's like the future state of the internet. It's really exciting, and it's not here yet. I'm more interested, to be honest. I'm not so interested in defining it. I'm interested in building it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Wolfson, the host and founder of Web3 Deep Dive Podcast. Web3 Deep Dive Podcast focuses on real-world Web3 use cases to help you better understand how Web3 is being applied today and how it may be leveraged in the future. If this sounds interesting, I encourage you to subscribe, like, and share the content that you're seeing today to help spread the word about Web3. I also want to take this time to thank the sponsors behind Web3 Deep Dive Podcast. Wursta is producing Web3 Deep Dive Podcast and is a global technology consultancy agency with headquarters in Austin, Texas, and Quito, Ecuador. Wursta works with enterprises to help them make better technology decisions for their businesses. I also want to take the time to thank Banksa. Banksa is a leading crypto infrastructure payments provider. Be sure to check out Banksa for your Web3 project today. And without further ado, let's get started with Web3 Deep Dive. Awesome. Well, I'm excited to dig in. So Cathy, before we kind of dig into some deeper topics here, tell me a little bit about your background, how you got involved in Web3, and just, what you find interesting about the space.
Yeah, so I've been in technology for almost 10 years, and it wasn't a straight path, right? For a lot of us, it was not a straight path. I actually come from a media background. I was a journalist for many years, then switched over to PR and comms, and eventually found my way into technology by chance, first in live video, and then eventually virtual reality, augmented reality, where I spent the majority of my time. And then eventually, through everything I was doing and the work I was doing with the fashion brands, Web3 came calling as well. And yeah, so I kind of straddle both the XR space, so AR, VR and all that, and the Web3 space as well, and gaming in between, some AI, because now we're all doing AI apparently. But yeah, it's been really exciting. It's been really exciting. I got here by chance, and through the help, I would say, of a lot of people that have championed me across the years. So,
right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about trends that we're seeing today when it comes to the metaverse, for instance. Mm-hmm. Actually, you know what? I'll back up. How would you define the metaverse?
Yeah, to me, the metaverse is nascent. It's not something that's here fully yet. So whenever I see a headline that says, the metaverse is dead or something, I'm like, how can you kill something that is, still being created? But to me, the metaverse, in essence, is the successor state to today's mobile internet. It is a convergence of the physical and virtual world that's enabled by many different technologies, not just virtual reality, because a lot of people think VR only. It's enabled by VR, AR, AI, cloud computing, edge computing. And to me, it's like the future state of the internet. It's really exciting, and it's not here yet. I'm more interested, to be honest. I'm not so interested in defining it. I'm interested in building it.
I love that.
So I've got one up on that.
Yeah.
How would you explain the metaverse to your kids?
It's so cute because they play a lot of video games, so Roblox, Minecraft. That's not specifically the metaverse, but that's like the beginning of the metaverse. So to them, I say, one day in the future, the internet's going to be a little bit different. It's probably going to be in a different device. It might not be in our phones or our computers. It might be in glasses, or it could be even like a screenless wearable. We don't know. But sometimes sometimes the internet's going to be all around you in the future, and that's kind of where we're heading. That's kind of the metaverse.
I'm curious to get your thoughts on you're saying the internet one day will be all around us, and that sounds great. What are your thoughts on that in terms of mental health and how that may impact society, I guess?
It's interesting that you bring that up because it is mental health month, right? And it's definitely top of mind as a mother of 3 kids, all Gen Alpha, 12, 11, and 6. The issues that they're already facing, right, with social media, even in gaming platforms, the bullying and the things that happen there. So I do worry, right? I do worry that if the internet is all around us, then everything within eyesight and earshot of where we are becomes real estate, right? For ads, but also for influencing. So it does worry me. I do think that the fact that it makes people uncomfortable to think about that, or at least it gives them a level of caution, is a good thing, because we went into Web 2 with a very naive vision, right, of like, oh, the internet, is going to connect all of us and I'm going to see my friends. And it did, right? It connected us with a lot of people, but it was also, led to a lot of different things. People, everyone getting exploited for their data. So yeah, like, do I have a solution for that? I don't. I just think we need to go into it with our eyes wide open and realize that the internet is going to evolve. And if we have very serious conversations right now about what that could become and how we can have safeguards, right, and rails for this, then we might be able to prevent some of the bad things that happen. That being said, there might be things that are, that are secondary, third order effects of that future that we don't even know, right, might happen. So I think I'm all about creating awareness, getting ahead of the difficult questions now, but also realizing that there might be things that we're not even thinking about because we can't even imagine that could happen.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like a lot of studies are just coming out now about how screen time is affecting younger kids and social media in particular. There's a lot of talk about the bad. What do you think some of the good future implications are of this new technology?
I think the technology also gives them an outlet to express themselves and try to deal with their emotions. So I'll give you an example. This is a very clear example. So with my kids, especially my son, who's the big gamer in the family, he's the Roblox developer in the family. We split time between gameplay and build time, right? So he knows how to develop in the platform so he can create worlds. So a couple of years ago, I think it was like a year ago or something, Technoblade, who was a very famous gamer, passed away from cancer. He was 26 years old, young guy. I remember my son coming into my office and being very sad about it. He was crying. He said, "Mommy, Technoblade passed away. Tell me about this cancer." Like, we had a really deep conversation, right? And when we were having that conversation, he said, "Mom, I'll be right back." He went for like 30 minutes and say, "Hey, I need you to come. I need to show you something." I walked over to his computer, and he had created a memorial for Technoblade in Roblox, right? So that to me was that moment of him having these very difficult feelings, trying to, process death, process cancer, process, all these sorts of things. And he used these technology tools to, as an outlet to express himself and express grief. So I do think that there is magic in some of these tools in allowing kids to express themselves, right? So that to me, I'm not saying that that's the end all be all, but it's a really good example of the other side of the coin.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it opens up a whole new world also to adults as well. I mean, people like us and, all three of us, I know that we're all very much into fashion. Mm-hmm. And now with everything becoming virtual and digital fashion on the rise, that gives us another outlet rather than having to go out and shop for clothes. We can go online or express ourselves, or if you said something to me, I could literally just go find it virtually. So I think that, for both children and adults, the metaverse or the beginnings of the metaverse can be really useful.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that there's a component there of Web3 for mental health. And I know our friends like Krista Kim and Shira Lazar are kind of really into that space. And yeah, I think that there's some great things that we're going to see from it, very negative things as well. But I think that there are champions out there that are approaching this technology with health and wellness in mind.
Right. It's important. What are your thoughts on wearables? Do you think that we're going to be walking around one day with glasses on? And
I am so excited. Like, I cannot tell you how excited I am about June 5th, which is when Apple's going to have their keynote at WWDC, which is their developers conference. Are they going to announce something? Maybe. I think a lot of us have been waiting for that for a while. But I think that, eventually something will replace the mobile phone, right? So that needs to sink in for a lot of people and think about, how did the mobile phone change your life? Like, some people have never had a life without a mobile phone, right? Some of the younger crowd. But how did the mobile phone change your life? And what if something replaces that? What could it look like, right? So it could be glasses. I think that's where a lot of the big tech companies are putting billions of dollars in investment. Not VR headsets. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, glasses. I call it the Ray-Ban moment. Whenever we get those really nice, fashionable glasses that we're all going to want to wear, we're definitely ways out from that. That's not going to happen on June 5th. Whatever gets introduced is going to be like a transitional device. But yeah, it could be glasses, right? I think that's where a lot of people are putting their money. There's other startups like Humane that demoed a screenless new wearable at the TED conferences, which uses projection mapping and AI, and it doesn't have a screen. Like, you're not looking down, you don't have anything on your face. They say the future is not on your face, which I thought was a really interesting proposition. What I do think is that when Apple does announce something, whatever it is that they're working on in the wearable space, that is going to usher in more innovation and kind of that era of like, what does the post-smartphone future look like? So whether it's Humane, whether it's Apple, whether it's someone we've never even heard of, right? There's going to be a lot of propositions in the market in the wearable space. So I'm excited about it.
Why do you think, you mentioned glasses versus like the headsets? Is that what you meant, like the big...
Yeah. So I don't think it's VR headsets.
Okay,
like VR headsets, I love my VR headset and everything, but it's going to be a paperweight, right?
So it's too heavy and just too bulky.
Too heavy, too bulky.
Around, yeah.
It disconnects us from from the physical world. We're still social beings, right? Even if we are in gaming and everything, we're still socializing. So for me, it's going to be some type of wearable glasses that you can see through, that you can have information in front of you and everything. So,
very Black Mirror.
Very Black Mirror, yeah, but but I don't know. I'm kind of excited because I feel like we're all down on our looking heads down on our phones. I want to be heads up. Even if I'm going to have all this data in front of you, like in front of me, I'm still going to be looking you in the eye. So I'm excited about that part. Hopefully the kids and the teenagers in the having dinner are not going to be on their phones. They're going to be on their glasses, potentially looking at their parents. Who knows?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, let's hope we can get the kids to pay more attention to their parents, right? I'm interested to see where it goes because the Google Glasses, their original implementation, 10 years ago now? There was some really great use cases, I think business use cases, right? In the medical field, for instance, to see the next step in the procedure was one of the apps I built maybe 10 years ago. But those went away, right? They didn't gain market share and market adoption. You're working with big brands today, especially brands like Walmart, which are super duper innovative. Is there anything you can share with us? Any developments that they're doing, thinking about this new future tech?
Nothing yet. Nothing that we can share, at least. I think a lot of these companies are just waiting to hear what Apple has to say, right? And I am 100% sure that some of the Maisons, some of the luxury brands are already working with Apple on, what happens when there is a new wearable that gets introduced, right? I have a feeling that wearable is going to be focused on entertainment, fashion. I mean, the fact that Tim Cook's latest interview on AR was in GQ, I think that's a signal. I think there's a lot of breadcrumbs, right? But yeah, I think that there's going to be a focus on entertainment, fashion, community, communication, not so much the enterprise, which is where a lot of these headsets have focused in the past, and where a lot of the the use cases have been. I think what Apple has going for it here is that they are known to enter new markets, right? So Apple, the iPod, for example, the watches, AirPods, they've opened new markets for wearables and expanded them immensely, right? Billions of dollars. So I think, them coming into the market with a new wearable device is very much in the Apple DNA. And, I think that eventually they'll give us a reason for wanting to wear those glasses. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I am also. I mean, I can't wait until we see the day where we're not looking at our phones and we're just looking up and we have the glasses. So I'm hopeful. Cathy, you're also announcing, or you're launching your own wearable soon, which is fashion and tech. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so like I mentioned VerseLux at the beginning, that's my creative playground. I've been working with a lot of fashion brands, and a lot of them can't move fast enough, right? So I could bring tons of ideas, but they couldn't move fast enough. And I said, you know what, I'm going to start doing these ideas myself and prove that they can be done. So that's how VerseLux came to be. And the first collection is called the Frills Collection, and it is Web3 connected jewelry, so connected fashion. It is jewelry that has a chip inside, and you get the physical asset. So when you buy the physical asset, you buy it just like you would anything in an e-commerce kind of way, so through fiat. But when you actually get the physical asset, you can scan either a bracelet or a necklace, and then you're able to mint it and put it on chain, right? So that physical asset will always have a virtual twin of it on chain that proves provenance, that proves it's the real item, etc. So I'm really excited about thinking about connected fashion from a legacy perspective. I could see many other brands in the jewelry space and the fashion space start to do that. They've already been doing that, right, with RFID and maybe some NFC, but not minting them on chain, which is, I think, the extra step that allows that for physical and virtual to be connected fully. So yeah, that's the first collection, which is Web3. It doesn't mean all collections are going to be Web3. We're looking at frontier materials. We're looking at brain computer interfaces. We're looking at a lot of different things for future collections, which I think are going to wow some people out there.
Yeah. Are you wearing any of is that?
No, actually,
Okay.
This is the inspiration for the collection,
Okay,
but this is not it. Actually, it's actually my purse. I should be wearing it, but yeah, but that's coming soon. We're excited. We were going to launch in April and May, but we have decided to postpone it because we've got an amazing opportunity in the future. So definitely we'll share all the news with you once we have that, but yeah, just expect big things. I'm excited.
I'm excited too, and I'm going to get my hands on
Yes.
A piece of that jewelry.
Are you going to do, so there's pink, green, white, and black.
Okay.
Are you going to go for pink? Because I see you guys are into the pink here at Barbiecore.
I like pink a lot, although white is always good. And you could do white with
yes.
anything, right? Like you could do white with pink, with the highlighter pants that I have.
Yes.
So it's interesting to hear, heard two things there. You said we were going to launch in April and May, but we took a beat because we want to make it even better, let's say. But I also heard you say brands can't move fast enough, right? Which is sort of a dichotomy right now in Web3. Everyone wants to hurry up, but sometimes you've got to wait. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to kind of give brands a break at some point. Like some of them move really fast and they're fine. Like a Gucci, a Nike, Adidas. Like some of them are like, let's move super fast. Some brands, some of them are just waiting. They're like, we don't need to be first. I work with a lot of these maisons, right? So these luxury brands that have been around for hundreds of years. And some of them are just like, we're just going to wait. We're a luxury product. We can wait a little bit. We want to do it when it's the right thing and the right project for us. So, And then there's also a lot of like internal issues, right? Financial, legal, like there's so many cooks in the kitchen. That have to get approvals and some of these things. Whereas for me, having my own project, like I'm the ultimate decision maker. I say what we do and what we don't do. So yeah, I think it's a little bit different, right? It's going to take a lot longer. And and there, yeah, we have to recognize the current market conditions, right? It's not great. So for some of these companies to go into maybe accepting crypto or potentially doing something with NFTs when there's still kind of not a lot of clarity, right? And they think, is this going to be a security? Like, is this going to be a commodity? What is it? I think definitely the industry as a whole needs clarity, right, as to what these things are or everything. So I don't know. It's an interesting moment for sure.
Yeah. Banxa is the leading crypto on and off ramp solution. Through an extensive and growing network of global and local payment solutions and regulatory licenses, Banxa helps businesses provide seamless integration of crypto and fiat for global audiences safely and compliantly with lower fees and higher conversion rates. For more information on how to integrate Banxa into your project or product, visit banxa.com. How do you think we can bring clarity to get, more brands on board?
Well, I think it starts with education, right, and showing them easier use cases. I think at some point everyone was selling NFTs and 10,000 PFPs, right? Not every brand was into it, but maybe they needed to start with a POAP, right? It's like baby steps. It depends on what the brand is doing and how comfortable they are with the space. So yeah, I think it starts with education. It starts with also, as someone that works with the brands, showing them the whole landscape, and saying you could do this as simple as a pull-up, or you could do this over here and create your own Web3 community like Nike or Starbucks, right? So yeah, I think it's explaining to them what the whole landscape is and then saying, this is where I think you should go in, this is where I think you should do, but where do you feel comfortable going? What do you want to do?
And even more importantly, there from a business, how are you going to measure it? I'm interested to know from your perspective, what sort of business metrics are brands looking at for these experiments?
It has definitely evolved, right? I think, last year, a year and a half, like you could go, like it was the PR factor, right? Of doing X or being the first to do something. That was kind of enough for the brands, right? Now, I think we've moved beyond that, beyond the hype cycle. And now it's like, what does this really mean? What's the bottom line here? How is this, is this improving processes? Is this, creating new revenue streams? What is it doing for me, right? Is it increasing brand awareness in a real way that I can measure it? So I'll give you an example with some of the virtual worlds that we've built. We've looked at dwell time. How much is a player spending there, right? And sometimes the numbers could be 10 to 12 minutes. That's really good. You do not get that on social media, right? People are scrolling through. So looking at different metrics that might not be the traditional metrics that marketers, especially in the marketing side, they've been kind of looking at. There's always the question of, how do I make money? Like, how does this mean? How does this impact my bottom line? Is it going to help me move inventory? Is it going to create a new revenue stream? And, we're starting to see things like, Nike making a lot of money with NFTs, those sorts of things. That's a process. I think it's really important for anyone that's working with brands to make sure for the brand to understand. It's like, you're not, this is not last year, right? You're not going to drop and sell out and make millions of dollars right off the bat. You could, right? Best case scenario, it could happen. But maybe money isn't the focus right now. The money could be more like building community, brand awareness. Not so much the PR angle, though. I think that's way, way past.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm happy that we're past that whole, or at least I hope we're past that whole period where we saw the NFT boom, where people were doing it just for the money purposes. But I mean, NFTs with utility, like you were saying, can do so much more and can provide so much more for brands and companies. So I think it's great that we're starting to see that now, brands with NFTs with real world utility.
Yeah, I'm excited about that, right? Everyone uses the same examples, Nike and Starbucks, right? But they're great. They're really good examples of co-creation, of engaging your community in new ways. We'll have to see. This is really early. That's what I remind everyone. Like, all of us here, like, we're pioneers. Like, this is hard. Being in this space is hard right now. Right?
It is.
But it's early. We are like literally the pioneers of this space. So it's early. It feels hard sometimes when you see so many brands and so many things happening, and it's hard to keep up. But I give myself a dose of reality every once in a while, right? And I'll be like, it's still early. Like, right. Most of the world doesn't even know that this is happening. So.
Can you give, with Starbucks, for instance, because I want our listeners to understand, maybe they're unaware of what Starbucks is doing with NFTs. Can you just go into detail there?
Yeah, so they're definitely not using the word NFT. They're calling them digital collectibles or something like that. And they created, they've got their Starbucks rewards, which a lot of us use on a daily basis, right? But they also created Starbucks Odyssey, which is a Web3 rewards community, loyalty community, etc. And the whole idea is that, it's still in beta. You become a member, you open a wallet, and then you do quests. Like, sometimes it's watching a video, or sometimes it's ordering a special sustainable coffee, right? And getting that kind of recognized. And then depending on the quest, you're able to get stamps, right? And these stamps actually have value. There are people, reselling them for a couple $1,000s. So yeah, it's a really interesting thing. It's still early. It's still in beta, right? So it hasn't been fully rolled out to everyone, but those of us that are in the program, yeah, it is a lot about quests. It's about experiences, about getting these different stamps. Like for Christmas, you could get a very special stamp. So yeah, it's a process, and I think that they're looking at how do they engage with the community further? How do they start to create connections? Nike, I think, is a little bit further ahead in how they're approaching Swoosh, which is the name of their Web3 community. Once again, in beta, you get access to it. You open a wallet. You start to, engage. You choose your name, like you choose what name you're going to use. They had a recent drop with the, what's it called? Air Force. I don't remember what it's called. Air Force, like One Force. I don't remember what it's called, but it's a play on Air Force One. But yeah, like it's a virtual sneaker. So I think with Nike, they're really looking at co-creation, which is going to be harder for a Starbucks to do, right? But they're thinking about co-creation. How can they work with their community in Swoosh to say, hey, help us design the next tennis shoe or something, which is going to be a little harder with coffee, but I'm sure they're going to have something like help us design the next drink.
Right. Yeah. Deanna, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so you mentioned big brands, Starbucks and Nike, and of course they have all the money to do all the experiments. I actually am curious about your personal brand, which I think you've done a tremendous job in building, the godmother of the metaverse, the first chief metaverse officer, and I think you maybe even have some courses to help others in this space. I wonder if you could tell us about that.
Yeah, well, what I found is like I do a lot of speaking, right, and that's part of it. But then I would have a lot of people like, I want to learn more. How do I get started? And then I had done some courses with LinkedIn, so I found those really fun. But then I said, okay, why don't I launch my own course that's that is fully comprehensive, that speaks more from my first person experience? And I was able to launch that. We've done really well. I actually heard that some of the students have created their own Telegram group as well, and they're all kind of engaging now, and collaborations are starting to happen. So I'm just thrilled. I put this knowledge out there for people to learn, and I'm starting to see this community growing. I'm thinking about how do I build my own community as well. So yeah, it's been thrilling to see the thirst for knowledge that people have, the excitement that people have, despite all the negative headlines, and then seeing people connect, right? Seeing people start these collaborations where I'm like just blown away by that.
Yeah. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk more about the crypto side of things. What role, in your opinion, does crypto play when it comes to Web3, and does it have to play a role?
I don't know if crypto as a cryptocurrency side of the house plays a role. I do think blockchain plays a role in that future, right? If we look at it towards a Web3 that has an element of being open and decentralized, right? First of all, I will say I don't think the whole future is open and decentralized. I think we can't truly have it fully open and it can't all be open and decentralized. I work with brands, I work with governments. There are things like intelligence, for example, that needs to remain closed for reasons understood, right? If you're a spy or you work for the CIA, FBI, you do not want an open and decentralized metaverse because you're protecting, the country, whatever. But yeah, I think that the future will be open and decentralized, some hybrid model that we don't even know what that looks like, and then the closed systems that need to remain closed for some reason or another, right? So yeah, there has to be blockchain Web3 technology that allows us to connect in this open and decentralized future, right? So yeah, when I think of Web3, and I explain this to people in very simple terms, I say Web 1 connected information that gave us the internet, Web 2 connected people that gave us, social media, but it gave us the sharing economy, it gave us e-commerce. We're in Web 2.5 going into Web 3. To me, Web 3 connects people, places, and things, or people, spaces, and assets, right? And those can be virtual, but they will also be in the physical world. That just hasn't been fully enabled. So to me, that Web3 component has an element of connectivity, of infrastructure and architecture that we cannot deny that we need for that future, right? If we are going to own our own data, how do we do that? And I think that blockchain is one of the solutions to that. So I don't think it's necessarily like, it has to be Bitcoin or it has to be, an altcoin or it has to be all of this. I think it's the infrastructure of connectivity that is important, at least in my perspective.
Yeah, it's a good point you make. When I was at South by Southwest, I went to a panel. It was a panel on fashion. Someone was up there saying, the metaverse will always exist. It will remain, but blockchain may not be a component of the metaverse. Like, blockchain is a hot topic now, but he this was his opinion. He was saying, I don't think it's going to be part of the metaverse. And so that's why I wanted to ask you, because I think blockchain plays a very important role in Web3 and in the metaverse. And I think that some people, maybe like that speaker I was referencing, they get scared of the terminology because of its association with cryptocurrency and NFTs. But blockchain is a great technology.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that there are certain people in the industry that say, we don't need blockchain or Web3. But if the ultimate goal is to connect these spaces, people, spaces, and things, or assets, or if the goal is to own your own data, how do you go about that? And I think that blockchain is part of that infrastructure, right? So yeah, maybe they haven't thought that far. Maybe they're very focused on gaming and game engines, gaming that doesn't have a component of Web3, right? And yeah, maybe they are jaded about crypto as cryptocurrencies and NFTs and hearing things like that. But to me, there is an undeniable truth that in the future, there is a level of architecture that is needed that comes from the blockchain, right? Especially when we talk about owning our own data, which is a desire that many of us have in the space. How are you going to do that? What is the architecture to do that, to prove that this is your data? That's where I think, that blockchain comes into play. So, yeah.
Right.
I agree with you completely. I think blockchain is a great technology for storing assets and trustless identity, right? And when I think of the metaverse, I can't help but think of Roblox and gaming and all the digital assets, which have to be stored on the blockchain if you're going to truly own them, right?
Yeah, because right now they don't really own them. Like, they don't, right? So my kids have tons of stuff, but do they own them? No. So.
Right. Yeah, I had that conversation with the CEO of Ready Player Me, and how important it is for these virtual assets to be NFTs because you own them versus gaming assets today that are super expensive and you don't own them. But imagine being able to purchase some sort of a gaming asset that your avatar can wear and then being able to actually own that and sell it even if you wanted to. I mean, there's so many opportunities here. But like he was saying to me, there's this lack of awareness and a scaredness even with being associated with NFTs, blockchain, cryptocurrency. But I think the main thing is we really need to educate people on blockchain as a technology because it doesn't have to involve cryptocurrency.
Yeah. And I think it's also, when I talk to sometimes to people, I'm like, it's about legacy as well. It's about even estate planning. That sounds boring, right? But think about that. Like, when let's say when my grandma passed away, she left me a Bulgari necklace, right? And I'm assuming it's a real necklace, right? I'm assuming it's a real necklace. But that's one of the reasons I did what we did with frills, because it's changing that mindset, that long-term thinking of, when I die, I'm probably going to leave virtual assets to my kids, or I'm going to leave assets that are physical and virtual at the same time. So to think that the world is just physical, made of physical assets, I think it's limiting. And yeah, like there has to be a component of blockchain to trace that. So yeah, what I say to anyone is like, in the future, maybe when you pass away or when your kids pass away, they're going to leave virtual assets that they actually own behind. So how do you track that? It has to be on the blockchain.
Definitely. Another thing we also need to consider is how to keep that safe. How do we keep something that's virtual on the blockchain safe and ensure that it's yours and doesn't get stolen? So I think that's a challenge that we also need to figure out while we're in this building phase of the metaverse.
Yeah, I think that there's folks doing great work, right? Ledger, for example, and kind of how you store your assets and trying to make that easier, trying to make that more stylish too, with the stack.
With the Fendi.
Yeah, with Fendi.
Oh my God,
Fendi or jewelry. I see people wearing their little ledgers.
It's so pretty. I saw that press release. I was talking to Pascal, the CEO of Ledger, about the Fendi. Anyways, I did think of you. Also.
Yes, I bet. But I think there's plenty of companies working on that. And if you look at the majority of the people that get their NFC stolen or things like that, it's normally social engineering, right? It's like you gave away some information, or you did something wrong, or you clicked on the wrong link on Discord or what have you, right? It's normally not that someone hacked into your blockchain, into the blockchain, right? Which is extremely hard to do. So yeah, I think that there's an element there, like this is a lot of social engineering. So at the end of the day, the problem is humans, right? It's how we engage with things, not so much the technology, right? There's still issues and everything, but yeah, I think that safety is important. We'll just have to be safer as humans, which is hard, especially if you add a level of artificial intelligence. Like I was just having this conversation with some friends, and I said, look, in my house, we're starting to create family safe words. And she was like, why? And I said, because I've put my kids' voices out there. Someone could grab that voice, clone it with voice cloning, which has advanced quite a bit, and pretend to call me as my child, saying I've been kidnapped or something. So I have to create family safe words, right? I was just literally this morning watching CNBC, Squawk Box, and they had an author, a former chairman of the IMF or something, who's a professor and had a book. And he literally talked about bank safety. And he said, you can no longer trust that the CEO is leaving you a voicemail. The CEO of the bank is calling you and leaving you a voicemail saying, do this. You're going to have to call them and you're going to have to ask for that one word, literally a safe, he didn't use the word safe word, but a word that you guys know is that trusted word, right? A word that hasn't been digitized. So, yeah, like to me to hear that on CNBC at that level, talking about banking, is proof that, yeah, security is going to be top of mind, and security is becoming harder by the day because of what humans do with it. So
that's intense. It never even crossed my mind that had never voice cloning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I feel like that's a PSA we need.
Yeah.
Safe words for your
Let's
family.
work on it, Ad Council. I'm part of the Ad Council's board of directors, so yeah, I've been talking to them a lot about AI, both the good and the bad. So
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think AI can do great things, but yeah, I'm also very frightened about it. But it's like when I had the conversation with Chelsea Manning about how cryptography and blockchain can actually be good to ensure that images, for instance, are real. If they're put on a blockchain network, you can say, well, it was put on the blockchain, so this is an actual image versus like an AI generated image.
yeah, I think that's where Web3 and I said this to you at South by. At Consensus. I said this to you at Consensus. Is I feel like Web3 has an opportunity to be that trust layer, like blockchain, Web3 technologies have an opportunity to be that trust layer as we head into this AI future, right? Where you can't trust what you see, what you hear. I really wish the Web3 community would grab that narrative, really dig deep into it and say, what can we do? What is our role in this future, right? Because I do see it. Like, we're going to need those types of virtual watermarks or ways of tracking things and knowing this is actually what I created and it's the real thing and you have it in your wallet, right? This is not a fake.
Right. So we're going to wrap things up because we've been chatting. I know, Cathy, you're speaking at VeeCon, so yes. You are obviously very busy. Any final thoughts, Deanna or Cathy, that you guys want to share before we say goodbye?
I'm just, I love that it's 3 women up here having this conversation. I absolutely love that. One of my personal, missions in life is to show people a different face of technology and allow more women, more BIPOC folks to say, I can be that too. Sandy Carter, who's a good friend, she's the first person I heard say this. She said, if you can see it, you can be it. So if people can see us doing this in what we're doing in the space, that is huge, right? We're blazing the trail. So yeah, I'm excited about the future.
That's absolutely right. I'm so happy to hear you say that. It's always been a huge inspiration of my life, just seeing other fabulous women doing it. And I am so excited about you creating this luxury items that help you maintain your legacy, right? That piece is really, really important. So thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Cathy. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Thank you to Web3 Deep Dive's executive producer, Deanna Wursta. Thank you to Web3 Deep Dive's director, Alex Wilcox, and thank you to Web3 Deep Dive's producer, Mark Gammo. I also want to thank Donna Albo for providing the music for this podcast. And of course, thank you to the listeners for joining us for this episode of Web3 Deep Dive. If you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to like, comment, subscribe, and share so you can help spread the love and get the word out there about Web3 Deep Dive. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.